That a relative is a CIA agent. She was in the Peace Corps, Vietnam era. Ever since she's been a world traveler, somehow able to drop her work and go hiking the Spanish version of the Appalachian Trail or otherwise go to exotic locales. Sometimes she came back with injuries. I fell as we were climbing some rocks. Her son is in the agency as an employee, not a spy, and he's married to a CIA translator. I believe my grandmother was a serial killer. She was married 7 times, each ending in a sudden death. She died in the 1980s, but everything is still suspicious and no one seems to know anything. I did find an article about her when she came to the US where her first husband died defending her after her ex-boyfriend climbed in her window in New York City. I also found evidence of her having been in prison before coming to the US. The Kardashians usually wear solid colored clothing because it's easier for them to Photoshop. My phone isn't really at 100% when it tells me it is. That there is something seriously wrong with me and people aren't telling me about it. I feel I have some sort of serious mental disability, personality disorder, or even some slight retardation and no one will acknowledge it or admit it to me. That the ginger ale at this diner I go to every day is just Coke and Sprite mixed together. I work for a call center for the marketplace in the US. There was no interview, barely any training, super high turnover and super low morale. None of their decisions make sense. The entire operation almost feels like it's trying to work as poorly as possible so everyone hates it. I think my local newspaper and news stations make up fake Facebook profiles to post inflammatory statements in the comment sections of their news releases. That my brother stole and sold all my 3DS games for weed money. They were in a black case and one day they were gone, case and all. I still haven't beaten Pokémon Conquest, sad face. Edit. I am shocked at the amount of people that have also had this happen to them, sad face. It breaks my heart a sibling, parent, uncle would steal from a family member like that, and I hope you all have all the games, cards, records that you could ever want now with no one to steal them less than 3. That a lot of businesses in my hometown are just money laundering operations. 25 nail salons in a town of 70,000? 3,000 square foot DVD rental shop in the best block of downtown where commercial rents are very high. Dozens of $10 barber shops sitting empty all day but remaining open. Red flags all around. That Bath & Body Works has like 13 unique scents. Every couple of months they just rotate the scents in and call them something else. Edit. Thank you for the gold, stranger. That the majority of Reddit is bots. It's remarkable how many posts, top comments are just old posts, top comments. There's one company in a town local to me who board up windows, nobody else in the area seems to do it. Every single window, door, abandoned shop, all done by this one company. They've got a ridiculous sized HQ, and have put a decent amount of money towards fixing up other buildings in the area. So I've got a theory they're the ones doing the damage or paying people to do it, and then obviously getting the job of fixing it up as they're really well known in the area. Despite having no proof of this, I am 100% confident I am onto them. That my father was in a super secret sector of the military during his service in the Vietnam War. Unfortunately, he died 2 years ago, so I'll probably never know what he really did. Queen Elizabeth will probably live up to 120 years and longer. She is one of the best fed and most cared person on earth. That my grandmother had a child before she married my grandfather. When my grandparents met and started dating, my grandma was only 13. My grandpa was 20. They married when she was 17 and he was 24, right after he came back from serving in World War II. That was about as much of the story as anyone in my family ever knew. They'd been dating, then he went overseas, and she wrote to him while he was gone. When he got back, they got married. A few years after my grandma died, my grandfather suddenly mentioned that they'd actually been broken up for a while before she started writing to him. After they'd dated about a year, he went to pick her up at her house one day, only to find she wasn't home. Her parents informed him that she'd left to live with some cousins a few hours away, and she'd be gone for about a year. He got upset that she hadn't told him about this in advance and ended the relationship. When another year-ish had passed and she returned home to her parents, she started writing him overseas and apologized, and they started dating again. My grandpa told this story very blandly and seemed to believe that the situation was what it said on the tin, but of course in the 1940s to 60s it was quite common for teenage girls to go live with relatives for a year, as a code for having an out-of-wedlock pregnancy. My grandpa would never have admitted if they'd been having sex, but I'm betting they were. She got pregnant, and she was sent off somewhere to have the baby. I've done commercial DNA testing, so I'm on the lookout for someone to turn up as a sibling match to my mum someday. The only other explanation for my grandma suddenly leaving town would be if her parents didn't approve her relationship with my grandpa, but from everything I know of them they were perfectly fine with their 13-year-old daughter dating a guy in his 20s. That my English teacher didn't read essays, and based grades on how we were in class.